the concept of upheaval in Cataclysm applies to both the game world itself and the actual mechanics of World of Warcraft. So, story-wise, Deathwing is coming up from Deep Home, and that has ramifications for lots of the old world zones in Azeroth. Zones like Thousand Needles have become flooded. There's new zones open. Uldum and Twilight Highlands have been exposed because of the kind of earthquakes and volcanoes and things that are going on. And we're carrying that theme through in a lot of the game systems as well. We're changing things like the UI. We're changing the ways a lot of player spells work. We're changing things like the way battlegrounds work and currency. So it'll feel like a pretty different game, but we're still trying to really hit the nostalgia for players that have been playing World of Warcraft for 5 or 6 years now. So players of all levels are going to notice Cataclysm feels very different. The zones have all changed. There's brand new quests in almost every zone, and certainly all the low-level zones have been 100% redone. And players will start to hit the Deathwing story and the Cataclysm story very early on. So, for example, they'll be venturing around in zones like Ashenvale and find that volcanoes have erupted and have caused some new quests to form. All the way through to events like in Westfall, players on the Alliance side will discover that a lot of Varian Wind's political decisions have had ramifications on his people, and so Westfall has kind of been taken over by hobos and transients, and a whole new quest chain unlocks there. One of the things the systems team really wanted to do coming into Cataclysm was overhaul all of the classes. And what I mean by that is we had spells coming in at kind of funny levels where they weren't very useful because we designed them late in the game. Spells that didn't make a lot of sense at low level could be higher level. We had just got a lot of cruft that kind of built up on some of the classes, and we wanted to kind of pare that back down. We changed the level flow so that you generally get a new ability every other level or so, and we changed the talents to reflect that. So we can't have like a top tier talent anymore that affects a spell that you're not going to get until level 50. So redone talent trees, redone spell flows, and all of that should feel more streamlined and just feel better for players who are leveling up. Some of the classes were pretty happy with where they are. I think some of the changes we made to the Shaman, for example, for Wrath of the Lich King, pretty happy with the way totems feel now. There are other things we want to work on. Hunter aspects and stings or something that have never felt quite right that we think we can improve. The Hunter resource model, obviously, we're changing for Cataclysm. Doing some things for Warlocks who want to have their spell rotations kind of defined a little bit better. Paladin still needs some work. Both the Protection, Retribution, Paladin don't have enough kind of going on. We want to work on some of that stuff. Changing the rage mechanic for Warriors to make it feel like a little more of a resource. You're not starved at low level and you're not infinite at high level. Some of the other major design goals we had for Cataclysm, we wanted to improve the UI to communicate to you a little better that, hey, you've got a new spell available on your trainer. We want to provide a better talent user interface. A lot of our UI was initially designed for much lower resolutions than some players have on their computers today, so we want to be able to embrace that where we can, having slightly larger elements that have more information. Changing some of the way the action bars work a little bit, the professions page, the queuing for PvP, all of that stuff, we just think it was time to improve it. Well, even before Cataclysm ships, World of Warcraft players are going to be able to use Battle.net to communicate to their friends that are playing in StarCraft. So we think, you're looking for the extra guy for your rated battleground, you can just whisper him playing StarCraft and say, hey, how long are you going to be? Can you come play with us soon? And we think that way all of our different projects that we're working on won't feel like they're competing with each other for players' time, and they'll feel like as long as they're playing a Blizzard game, they're kind of be able to interact with any of them. One of the big changes we're able to do now with storytelling is we've kind of taken phasing to the next level. In Wrath of the Lich King, we could phase NPCs and make them kind of appear after certain events had happened. We can do the entire thing with terrain now and even individual creatures. So we can actually phase a little mini boss fight that other players won't see or participate in, but the player undergoing a quest can see that. We're able to do a lot with the terrain in the Goblin and Worgen zones as players are going up. Like in the Worgen zone, for example, there's a point at which part of the land becomes flooded, and then there are forsaken warships kind of floating over what used to be a forested area. Volcanoes go off, things like that. It really feels in those two start zones a lot more like a single-player game where the terrain and the story kind of evolve as the player goes through. I think one of the biggest challenges we face on World of Warcraft today is just the complexity. I mean, the game has gone on for 5 or 6 years now, and each expansion we add new stuff to the game to where we're now all the way up to level 85. So a new player just picking up World of Warcraft or a player who wants to re-roll has a pretty big, pretty steep leveling curve ahead of them, as well as like mastering all of these new mechanics. Oh gosh, there's raided battlegrounds now, there's Dungeon Finder. I mean, for someone who's been playing WoW for a while, it's easy for those little incremental steps to kind of make sense to them, but for a brand new player, it can be a lot to try to understand. So we're trying to make sure the game stays fun and we can still offer new things to guys who've stuck with us for so long without just being totally overwhelming for someone who's just seeing the game for the first time. Alpha's been going great so far. We're really excited about it. We're really anxious to get into beta. Beta is a time when we really start to get a lot of feedback. On the class side, we just don't yet have the critical mass in Alpha to really kind of put the new talents in their paces and to point out areas that are not quite working as well as we want them to. So Alpha's great for us starting to figure out like some of the big things we have to fix before beta. I know some players who are impatient to get into the beta don't realize that they might be at a zone where they just can't advance, or their character is just stuck because a class spell isn't working, so they can't do anything else. Once we get all that kind of working to where it actually feels like a real game, then we'll get more people in the beta and be able to really start iterating on the feedback. This is a great time to come back to World of Warcraft. I think players are kind of underestimating how much the old world has really changed. When you go through a zone like Silverpine or Westfall or Red Ridge, it's dramatic how different things are. NPCs are gone, whole quest lines have changed. We've also fixed some of the strange issues where we had like really high-level creatures or overspawned regions. The whole thing just feels kind of like the Wrath of the Lich King style of making quests and zones applied back to the original World of Warcraft.